Hello everyone and welcome to day 6 of Freak Week. So during Freak Week last year, I love history. I've always been kind of a history nerd. I just find it so fascinating how different things were in the past. Last year I did a video on the real Count Dracula, or the person who inspired the character of Count Dracula. And it's a really creepy story and you guys were very fascinated by it. So I found a couple different cases of real life vampires in history, and it is some bizarre shit, you guys, so buckle up. So before we start talking about the more like savage vampires, I'm gonna talk about a more ethical vampire named Merticus. Merticus is actually a man who's still alive. He claims to be a vampire, and he also claims that human blood gives him health benefits.
We should talk to whoever is on the phone from the Atlanta Vampire Alliance.
Well, this is Merdeka.
He's
a founding member of the Atlanta Vampire Alliance, Kevin.
I didn't know that group even existed.
Don't
Merticus?
mock Merdicus.
Merticus, hello.
How you doing?
Good.
Blood, y'all, blood.
And apparently he is one of thousands of people around the world who call themselves real life vampires and suck the blood of humans. Merticus said that ever since he was a child, he had this longing for an energy that sleeping and eating just could not give him. He claims that his body needs human blood to make up for a deficiency he has when it comes to proper energy processing. He claims that human blood is the only thing that will give him energy and strength. Merticus says that he came out to the world as a vampire in 1997. He says that he first drank human blood in his mid-20s after just cutting someone's skin gently of a person who apparently gave him consent to suck their blood. After this, he said he felt reborn, it completely changed his life, and from then on, he decided he needed to get human blood. And since then, he's been drinking human blood on a regular basis. He says that he consumes human blood at least once a week from a family friend or someone who's willing to donate it to him. He claims he does it in a way that's considered to be safe, and he sees nothing wrong with it. And psychologists have, looked at these people and have determined that they really do think that the blood helps them. They aren't doing it for fun. They're doing it because they think it has health benefits. But pretty wacky stuff. In the early 90s, Merticus actually helped co-found a website, and it was called the Atlanta Vampire Alliance. And it was an organization, kind of like a support group, designed to help people who had recently come out about being vampires. Here is a little bit of an interview with Merticus.
You're a vampire too?
I am a vampire. I'm a founding member of the Atlanta Vampire Alliance.
Okay.
You can find out more about us at AtlantaVampireAlliance.com. We welcome everyone to take a good hard look at what we're doing and learn more about vampires. Blah, y'all.
Okay, but vampires aren't real, and by that I mean nobody needs blood to survive.
Well, I know plenty of vampires who'd beg to differ, because if you don't drink the blood, if you don't feed and you're a vampire, it can have actual physical repercussions.
Like what?
Well, a loss of energy, sometimes a heart rate can be dropping.
Okay.
Migraines, losing consciousness. If you don't feed, it's going to take its toll.
And when you say feed, what do you mean? Are you just like drinking blood? You're not actually biting people.
Well, it depends. Everybody's different. There's
Right.
all different kinds of vampires. You quoted the number 5,000.
5,000, right?
Those are just the blood-drinking vampires. There are 10,000 non-drinkers in the U.S. who also claim to be vampires. So you can get physical energy from touch, but most of us, we like drinking the blood.
How can you be a vampire if you don't drink blood?
Well, here's the thing. Vampirism is just the feeding of energy off of other living things.
Okay.
And so there's different ways you can do it, but most of us do prefer to drink the blood.
All right, the next vampire is the Atlas vampire. On May 4th of 1932, Stockholm police found a 32-year-old woman on the floor of her apartment dead. She was actually a prostitute named Lily Lindstrom. Police found Lily facing down, and she had bite marks on her neck. They believe she died from some type of head trauma and possibly could have been sexually assaulted as well. And despite this brutal attack, Lily had no blood anywhere on her, just the bite marks. There was also a kitchen ladle next to her body. And so many people believe that she was attacked by a vampire. That's why there wasn't blood anywhere, because they drank all of it, and that they used the ladle to drink it. Police also noted that from the looks of her body, they think that she had been there for at least a couple of days already. And police ended up identifying 9 different suspects that could have possibly done it, but they were never able to link anyone specific. No one was ever charged, and it remains a mystery to this day. Then there's Petar Blagovic. Petar lived in Serbia, Europe. During his life, he was just a regular-ass farmer until his death in 1725. But what's strange about this is that he was blamed for several other people's deaths after he was buried. In total, 9 villagers died in the little town that he lived in after he died. And before all of these people died, they claimed that Peter had visited them the night before. Even his wife apparently claimed that Peter came back to their house and was demanding food from their son, and he said no, so Peter murdered him and drank his blood. So back then, people were much more likely to believe in supernatural things, and they figured if, 9 people had died in 8 days after he died, they should probably dig him up. And they thought that, if they dig him up, they could look at his body and see signs of vampirism. Apparently, you can claim the person is a vampire if their bodies look fresh and alive instead of dead and decaying. When they dug him up, they claimed that he looked like he was still alive. He had clean hair and glowing skin even. But apparently his mouth was filled with blood. So this is when they decided that he was indeed a vampire. They decided to stab him in his heart. And when they did this, apparently blood started gushing out of his ears and mouth. So after this, they burned his body so that he would not be able to return again as a vampire. Then there's Tracy Whittington. She's actually known as the lesbian vampire from Australia. She was born in 1965, and as she was growing up, she realized that she had always had vampire tendencies. Like wanting blood. She would drink the blood of animals. When she got older, she even had a girlfriend named Lisa, and Lisa claims that she would let Tracy cut her and drink her blood to be nice to her, doing her a solid. But on October 20th of 1989, they decided that they wanted Tracy to be able to try male's blood. So they hatched up a plan to kill a male so that Tracy could drink his blood. The victim ended up being a father of 4 named Edward Baldock. Apparently, Edward was just walking home from a night out with friends. I'm not sure if he was drinking or not. I'm guessing probably yes, if he was like walking home at night. And these girls pulled up in their car, and they were trying to convince him, like, hey, come get in our car, like trying to seduce him so that he would come in and like hook up with all of them. So they convinced him, and he got in the car, where they ended up driving to a nearby park, and Tracy ended up stabbing him 27 times. She drank his blood and just left his body there to be discovered the next morning. However, you're not gonna believe this. Tracy was a total dumbass, and she left her debit card in his shoe. So the police were able to identify her right away. Good work. When they were interviewing her, she said that she had no remorse or feelings about the crime. She actually claimed that she sat next to Edward with a cigarette and watched him slowly die while she was smoking. In 1991, she was convicted of murder and sentenced to a minimum of 13 years in prison. However, she was released from prison in 2012 and is currently free. Awesome. Okay, the next one is Fritz Harmon. Between 1918 and 1924, a man named Fritz killed at least 24 boys in Hanover, Germany. Fritz had always gotten into trouble growing up. He was arrested at the age of 16 for molesting younger boys, and after this he was evaluated and was thought to be incurably deranged. So he was sent to a mental institution, but he ended up escaping and he fled to Switzerland. However, about a year later, he returned to Germany, to the same area, except he didn't go back to the mental institution, obviously. He got married, had a child with his wife, and ended up serving in the military. He was eventually discharged from the military, ditched his wife at some point, and at this time he was known for basically committing petty crimes, theft, that type of thing, and he was kind of like in and out of jail. And this is crazy, but he actually was homosexual, which was illegal at the time, believe it or not, but the police knew him well enough and were familiar with him. He had connections with them, and so they kind of just looked the other way. Which I think there's more to that story. But anyway, Fritz started killing in 1918. Basically, he would just go to the streets and offer young men and boys like jobs at his house. And this is so sick. Just want to warn you. He would kill them by, this is his signature move. He would kill them by biting into their Adam's apple, which is this part right here that really bothers me. Ugh, that is so fucking gross. Sometimes he would just bite a little bit into it. Sometimes he would bite all the way so he could get blood from the trachea. And he would actually refer to this as his love bite. After this, he would chop them up into little pieces and discard their body into a nearby field. He was actually caught when hundreds of bones were found in the river. Because he lived nearby and he was known to be a sketchball, they searched his house. And this is when they found many items that belonged to the victims, so he went ahead and confessed. What's crazy is that soon after this, rumors started going around that he was selling human flesh on the black market. And although this was never confirmed, he actually was known for being involved in the meat trading area of the black market, which is disgusting. So he confessed to killing 24 different people, and he was sentenced to death by beheading. After his death, his brain was actually permanently preserved in formaldehyde. I think they just wanted to run tests on it since he was so crazy. And he was held at a research center from 1925 to 2014 when they decided to go ahead and discard of it. And our final vampire is Arnold Paole. Arnold was a Serbian man during the 1700s. He claimed to have been bitten by a Turkish vampire. Apparently he tried to eat the dirt that the vampire was buried in some type of effort to cure himself. However, this didn't work because it's just eating dirt, and he ended up dying, so they buried him. But shortly after his death, 4 people came forward, claiming that he emerged from his grave and bit them. And according to the story, after that, all of them died as well. The townspeople got freaked out enough to dig him up, and when they did, he had blood coming out of all crevices of his body. They said that he had grown new fingernails, new hair, so they cut off his head and burned him. And they did this to all of the people who claimed to have been bit by him as well, so that none of them could return. And no one ever did. So very interesting stories there, guys. Obviously, I'm not sure what to make of them. Let me know what you guys think. Have you ever met a vampire? Are you a vampire? Actually, don't tell me that. I don't even want to know. That's it for me today, guys. I will see you tomorrow for the last day of Freak Week. If you have not caught up, be sure to check out the playlist in the description box. You can check out all the previous Freak Week videos for Freak Week 2018, and I'll also link the 2017 playlist in case you didn't catch that one last year, and you can binge watch all 7 of those. But that's it for me today, guys. I hope you're having a great day. Be sure to check out these shirts. This is one of the Freak Week shirts. This is available on my merch store. We're currently doing 20% off with the code LAUNCH, and 20% of the proceeds from these shirts is going to Thorn, so it's awesome. Definitely check it out. They are only going to be available for about another week or so, but I hope you guys are doing great. Stay spooky, and I will talk to you next time.